energy. So I am going to graciously let Tasheema introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing? I've heard how everyone's doing. It sounds like you guys are doing great. I'm Tasheema. I'm a community health worker over at Chesterfield Health District. And so I'm just coming by just to chat with you guys about just in preparation for the seasons changing. I know we're still in the summertime, but it'll be changing in the fall. And so for us to remember, of course, that COVID is still around and that the flu will be approaching, the flu season. And so just to kind of give some reminders of some things that we can continue doing if we've kind of like stopped. So kind of pick it back up. And so I will share my screen. Okay, let's see. Do you guys see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. So again, my name is Tasheema Pullian. I'm a community health worker. And so what that is basically I'm a community member who is living the same life that is around the same community members. And I'm just trying to share information that I know and that can possibly help you as well. So when it pertains to health education or just some things that we, sometimes we need to clear up facts and myths because so much.
I had it turned down. That's why I wasn't hearing.
And so, with so much going on, sometimes it gets really hard to know the difference between the facts and the myths, even when it comes to COVID. And I know we all know a lot about COVID. So the Chesterfield Health District consists of Powhatan, Colonial Heights, and Chesterfield. So and so we have 3 health departments, and I just wanted to share with you guys like some of the services, just in case you don't know all the services that we offer. And I don't think these are all of them, but these are like some of the main public services. So of course we have like environmental health department where you can get rabies information, you can get on-site sewage, septic, and well water program. You can get vital records, so any death, birth, marriage, or divorce certificates. You also have the women's, infant, and children's program, just the WIC program, where you can get nutritional care and food for participants. We also offer clinical services for women's health, and that is everything preconceptual for men and women. So we have immunizations, communicable disease services such as like TB tests, HIV testing, and things like that. And so, of course, we have COVID vaccinations where we're pretty much in, you can get those at various clinics and things like that. So of course, we're here, as respiratory diseases. And thank you again for Breathmatters allowing me to be here today because, as this type of disease that affects the lungs and other parts of the respiratory system, we want to just make sure that we press upon how important it is to be safe from COVID and the flu. Okay, so everyone pretty much knows about COVID, but I really wanted to put this slide here because for sometimes we get confused. And so you hear the different variants. So just in case everyone didn't know, the virus was the SARS-CoV-2, which is it's caused by that virus. It affects respiratory systems that can feel much like with a cold, a flu, or pneumonia. This may attack more than your lungs and respiratory system, and it, of course, even attacks other parts of the body and can be affected. If anyone, of course, has had COVID, they would know that. So the variants, like I said, so you remember hearing like Delta variant, and now we're on Omicron variant. They don't really say too much about the BA2, BA4, BA5, but just those are just the different variants. And so just to understand that the SARS-CoV-2 is continuously evolving as it changes in the genetic code. And it occurred during replication of the genome. So it is expected to continue to change. And so our jobs to kind of stay ahead of the game is to be as proactive as possible and just be prepared that things will change. And these different variants may affect everyone differently. So the Omicron variant, that was supposed to be more easily spreaded, like even more easier than the just regular COVID at the beginning. And it was, affected people differently. Let's see. So of course we know the COVID transmission, it's spread through breathing in air, carrying droplets or aerosol particles that contain the virus when close to an infected person. So that's specific to it being close from an infected person. Or by any droplets or particles that contain the virus land on the eyes or the mouth or the nose. So by touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with hands that have the virus particles on them. So any way possible, how it gets inside of you is basically how it's transmitted. Okay, so most people know that the fever, like the symptoms to always look out for, with the biggest one was like loss of smell and taste. So, it's if you had the flu, and it'll be fever, chills, cough, sore throat, and shortness of breath is one of the major things that, when throughout the pandemic, that if, someone had shortness of breath, we definitely encourage everyone to, call 911 in those types of situations. So of course, we all know by now that the preventative measures are to get vaccinated. And of course, everyone has more specific, guidelines from their healthcare providers about what vaccines and things like that. So we'll go over some vaccines, and just because I think there's a new one that some people may not know about as much as they do the others. Also, wear our mask that covers our nose and our mouth to help protect yourself and others. Of course, continue to social distance. I really liked Miss Smokey. I really liked that story about everyone being active and continuing to keep their distance. I thought that was great. Avoid crowds and poorly ventilated indoor spaces. So it's great to be outdoors and to get fresh air and to reduce the spread. Also, continue to get tested to prevent the spread to others. There are a lot of at-home self-test kits now that are available, a lot of free. As a community health worker, that's something I'm able to link people to, or the community members. If you need an at-home test, we have plenty of at-home tests to offer. We can even pick them up, or we can just find a way to get them to you. And to continue to wash your hands with soap and water. Use hand sanitizer if soap and water are available. So to just go a little deeper into like the vaccines, most of us know Pfizer and Moderna. Of course, with those two, you can get the the original doses are 2 doses. And then there are they both have 2 boosters after the 2 doses that you'll get, fairly weeks apart. Johnson & Johnson now it was the 1 dose vaccine, but you can get 2 boosters after. And so those boosters can now be Pfizer or Moderna. Either one, it doesn't make a difference. It's your preference or your choice. Novavax, I don't know if many have heard about Novavax, but that is a 2-dose, which is the primary series. And then you're fully protected once, not protected, I'm sorry, I used that word, but you have the full dosage if you have done the 2 primary series, because if there's no booster required for that one. So people who are up to date, including booster doses when eligible, are likely to have stronger protection against COVID-19 variants, including Omicron. CDC recommends everyone eligible get vaccinated and a booster shot, even though they both have 2 boosters. So the second, you can get the 1 booster, and it just also depends on like your age. I think it says if you're 50 and above, they definitely recommend that second booster. Okay, continue to wear your mask. Everyone pretty much knows how to wear a mask now, even though time has gone by and a lot of people are not wearing their mask. That if, we find it safe for us to continue to wear our masks, is that we, encourage that we do that, especially as as the seasons are about to change. And, a lot of times it's allergies, or we're not sure if it's, someone's not feeling well, or, so we just got to make sure we continue to wear our mask. And so in the case that you do so happen to feel ill or think you may have COVID, that is when, or you have tested positive for COVID, that is when you would isolate. So if you have tested positive for COVID, stay home and isolate for at least 5 days from the date your symptoms began. Wear a well-fitting mask when you are around others at home. If you are fever-free or other symptoms have improved after 5 days, you may leave isolation. So at the beginning, time and time again, the isolation has changed. So at first, I believe at the beginning it was 14 days that you had to isolate, but now it's down to 5 days. And if you're feeling much better or you don't have any symptoms, then you can basically take yourself off isolation and just wear a mask and kind of continue like that. Now, if you know someone who has tested positive and you've been around them, that's when you will quarantine and kind of like just keep an eye out on yourself. And if you are possibly feeling ill, or if you may need to get tested. And so, like, again, as a community health worker, I can assist with testing. If you ever want to know where a test site is, if you ever want to know where vaccinations are being offered, that's something I can help with as well. So of course, influenza has been around, and hopefully all of us go get our flu shots each year. But again, in the same group of COVID, it's a contagious respiratory illness caused by influenza viruses that infect the nose, throat, and sometimes the lungs. It can cause mild to severe illness, and at times can lead to death. And so, even through COVID, sometimes we fail to remember the flu. And that, I don't know if everybody, but I'm speak from my own personal experience. Sometimes you just fail to remember it because COVID was so rampant. And so that there are two main types of influenza viruses, types A and B. The A and B viruses that routinely spread in people are responsible for seasonal flu epidemics each year. So I just don't want us to slip our minds and make sure we continue to get our vaccines. And so just the same as COVID, most experts think that flu virus is spread mainly by droplets made when people with flu cough, sneeze, or talk. So these droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby, or possibly be inhaled into the lungs. So less often, a person might get flu by touching a surface or object that has flu virus on it, and then touching their own mouth, nose, or possibly their eyes, same as COVID. The symptoms are quite similar: fever, cough, sore throat, muscle and body aches, fatigue. And so the same thing with the flu. The preventative measures are to wash your hands, avoid crowds, and get vaccinated. A yearly flu vaccine is the best way to prevent flu illness. Vaccination is especially important for people at high risk or complications from influenza. So persons 65 of age and older, including residents of nursing homes and long-term care facilities, are considered high risk. People with chronic medical conditions are considered high risk. So, I wanted to put those two together again as we are going through a season's changing. I wanted to exit and go to the Virginia Department of Health website, just to show how this is a great resource for a lot of these things and a lot of these. So this is Chesterfield. You guys can still see my screen, right? Okay, great. So this is the Chesterfield Health Department's website. And so mainly the main things that we have on our site right now, or that are on like our front page, are COVID related topics. So if you needed to find a vaccination clinic, you can come here. If you needed or you had any questions about COVID, you can call this line. We have seasonal influenza information on there, as these are our big, our big topics at the moment. Let me see. So if you ever have any questions or things like that on here, that is what, that's what you can find. I just thought it would be important to kind of show that information. I don't think I have much more information. I just wanted you guys to know that the health department is here and what we have to offer. Let me show. And what we have to offer and how we can help. As a community health worker, we're out in the community answering questions, providing factual information, and kind of clarifying a lot of the health topics that people are concerned about. I know now we have monkeypox, so it's a lot of, just things are changing. There's always new information, and we just want to make sure everyone is as safe as they possibly can be. With that short presentation, does anybody have any questions or concerns?
I have a question. Is anybody getting the original COVID anymore, or is it solely the variants?
That is a really good question.
You never hear about it.
Because I'm wondering, do they even say, like, let's say you go and get tested. When you go and get tested, do they tell you which one you have? I think it's just positive for COVID.
Right.
So I don't know. That's a really good question.
But the symptoms for the original COVID were obviously much more severe.
But they were, yeah. Well, at that time, of course, they were much more severe. But Omicron is like easily spread. And so maybe with so many more people getting vaccinated, it prevented so much, it prevented a lot of their hardships that we went through. That's
what they say, that the vaccine helps you get a less severe case.
Less severe case, yes, ma'am.
I have a question for you. Would you say something about long COVID? I got COVID the end of May, and now I have a cough that will clear a room. Okay. And I am constipated, and none of that happened before COVID. I took Paxlovid for 5 days, had a vile taste in my mouth. That was a side effect of the drug. I don't know what the other side effects were. So would you please speak to that?
Wow. I don't know if I really can speak to that, just because it affects everyone differently. So post-COVID conditions can include a wide range of ongoing health problems. These conditions can last weeks, months, or years. So it doesn't look like there's much guidance on it ending or anything, it'll be 3 weeks. So post-COVID conditions are found more often in people who had severe COVID-19 illness. So when you had COVID, I'm just curious, when you had COVID, did you have a really rough experience with COVID?
No, it was very mild. The test strip was barely pink and very, very mild. And I had it Memorial Day, and I was, I felt off for 2 days prior to the testing.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it was a person would get. I don't want to put your business, but were you vaccinated? It just seems like
I had the first two. I had the first 2 vaccines, and I've not had any more. Okay. Yes.
It doesn't seem to say have a reason or why or how long it'll last, but it's just, I guess for everyone to be aware that it could happen. But that's interesting.
Well, do you know anything about the bill before Congress about long COVID?
About the bill? No, ma'am. I'm sorry. About the bill? No, ma'am.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Smokey, my literally this weekend, I had COVID June 1, and my long-term effect up until my surgery last week was smoke. I kept smelling smoke.
Oh,
And what I found out when I did my pre-op for my surgery, the nurse said, what you have is either, she called it either old school or old factory, oh my gosh, hallucinations. And what it is your
Whoa.
body thinks
Oh
it's
my
smelling
God.
smoke, but you're not. Come to find out, my sister had COVID last October, and she has still to this day smelled smoke. Just all of
Wow.
a sudden, it's a smell of smoke. And I can't even describe it to you. I was at the point where sometimes I'd have to get up out of bed because it was choking me. I couldn't
Oh,
breathe.
lands.
So,
Wow.
but knock on wood, that has totally gone away. And what I
Good.
have noticed is my smell is holistically back. And what I mean by that is I could literally smell when one of the girls was cleaning out the coffee pot, I could smell the coffee. So,
Oh,
and what happens is you sort of fall into the environment. You don't know that you can't smell until just all of a sudden. I mean, I really can't explain it, but knock on wood, I hope I don't get back to that. That was just
right.
odd.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, there's a special place in hell for the people that created this virus.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for sharing that with me. I mean, I do hear a lot of different stories. Just been working with the public and the community. You hear a lot of different experiences, and I don't know if I had heard about the smoke smell. I knew it was you had no
Never heard
smell. I hadn't heard about the smoke smell.
Well, I'd
What
like to
did your doctor say about the smoke smell?
Oh, with the
when
nurse. I'm sorry.
Yeah, when I shared that with my doctor, well, the nurse that told me this, she
Yeah.
said that she has heard very few of that smoke smell. But my PCP, when I called her, she said it's not a common thing. Just like she said with COVID, everybody's story is different. The things they experience or how long they get through it is just so different. Because I had all of my vaccines and my boosters, and I'm a COVID tester. So for all over 2 years, I was exposed to COVID often. And knock on wood, I never, ever, ever, ever got it. But I feel that, still to this day, when I'm around people or whatever, not in meetings anymore, but I have been wearing my mask. It's just a part of my everyday life. But I do think what happened was, this sounds crazy. I do think what happened was Memorial Weekend, I was quickly trying to get things together for the family. And I went to get gas and I didn't use my hand sanitizer after it. I know that. So you think about this, you really don't. I've always been wearing my glove when I go get gas, and then I still use hand sanitizer when I take the glove off. I didn't do that. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence or what, but I don't know. I was so sick. I was in bed for 6 days.
Oh,
Literally.
terrible.
I don't know. It's so hard. Everybody's story is different.
Yes.
Well, my story is one of the value of vaccines and boosters. Dan has COVID right now, and I have not gotten it, even though at the beginning he thought he was just having a bad allergy reaction, which he frequently does. and he tested negative on the home test. So it wasn't until he was 7 or 8 days into it that he actually tested positive at the doctor's office.
Wow.
So all that time I was around him, and so far I haven't had any symptoms and haven't had a positive test.
That's unusual that he
Mhm.
tested positive later after his exposure. Like you think about this, normally the sweet spot.
Well,
for
I think
COVID
it
is
was the
3 to
home
5.
test that, the home
Ah.
tests were not accurate. But when he had the test at the doctor's office, finally, that was
Ah.
positive.
Wow. Well, it sounds like the good thing is, like someone mentioned earlier, there doesn't seem to be as critical side effects from COVID in today's world as it used to be, not as much as the severe side effects. So,
I don't see, but I'd like to ask if the young woman I talked to yesterday is on from Tennessee. Is she on the phone?
I see a 804
Yeah, that's the
number.
only one I see too. She was undergoing cancer chemotherapy and got COVID and has fibrosis as a result of that. And she was looking for a support group. So I had invited her to come today, but I
Oh, wow.
don't see her.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the participants. There's only an
Yeah.
804 number on here.
Do you know what's just odd is what you talk about the side effects? Has anybody experienced or has friends that have experienced, like, I don't know, long-term effects from COVID?
I've heard of some people that have the severe fatigue and cough. I've heard of some people that know some people that have experienced that, but that's been the majority of it. And I know a lot of people that have had the variants, and nobody's had any lasting effects from that. Other than Smokey said she had a cough, but I haven't heard of too many people that have had effects from the variants.
Wow.
Smokey, does your doctor think that the cough is related to your asthma and COPD, or
I
definitely?
haven't seen the doctor since I had COVID.
Oh,
So there's no opinion there.
So
but you think you might want to get an opinion?
When I go to the doctor next, I will.
Okay. All right. I'm
I
sorry.
have asthma anyway, so no, a cough is a cough, but this cough is different. This
It's
is
different.
a deep barking type cough, and
Yeah.
I have mentioned it to healthcare professionals, and they say, "Oh," all they say is, "Oh." So
Is
that's
it
the
the
response.
cough? Is it hard to talk without coughing?
No, you haven't heard me. No, it's not hard to cough with. It's not hard to talk without coughing,
Gotcha. Okay.
but I don't know when it's going to happen.
Right.
It just happens.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's terrible.
Well, it's not debilitating, so I'm grateful that it's not debilitating. It's more irritating. So when it happens, I do have to explain to people, because the look I get is, you
Right.
shouldn't be here. You should be locked up. And I just say, hey, I had COVID. I've got all these antibodies with AK-47s. You're ready to shoot any germs down, and this is the leftover.
And please, I share just to share. And I guess being a COVID tester, you have a tendency to hear and see a lot of things. I only had one situation where this gentleman was very young, and I had tested him for COVID. He was COVID positive, got over that, tested him 2 weeks later, and he was COVID positive again with new symptoms. So COVID symptoms, he got through it. And then in 2 weeks, 14 days, he had it again, strong. The second day where he had to get someone to drive him to my office. So, it's his immune system, it's his exposure. I don't know, but that was different.
Mhm.
Yeah, because that defeats the adage that once you've had COVID, you're immune for 3 months.
Yeah,
You're supposed to not be
absolutely.
able to get the same. Now that's just the same variant, I think. Well, every time a new variant comes out, I think all bets are off. You can still get them. Is that correct?
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that
with
correct?
the different variants. I would think that you would be able to get reinfected different. Yes,
But
with the new variant.
you're supposed to have the immunities to the variant if you've had it for at least 3 months.
For at least 3 months, because you can still test positive. So that's why I'm wondering, because you can still test positive for up to 3 months. So did you say he tested positive one time and he tested positive again?
No, he tested positive,
Mhm.
then he tested negative, and then he tested positive.
I didn't hear.
And he tested negative 2 times. And the only reason I did that is because his girlfriend was our caregiver and she wanted to make sure
Mhm.
that she was okay. But he had these symptoms that concerned her and she was on point. I mean, she was on point. He was, so you would have thought,
Were they at home tests?
Much on those chairs.
pardon me?
Were they at home tests or were they PCR?
No, they were the test that I, as a COVID test lab,
Gotcha.
use. Those were the rapid tests.
Okay.
So literally, when I tested him the first time, I double tested him. Whenever somebody tests positive,
Mhm.
I test them again out of another case just to make sure that they are positive. So, and he had all of the symptoms.
Mhm.
So he was positive. And then I said, okay, I want you to come back and I want to test him again because I like to keep statistical data. And so he came back, he was truly negative. And then, like 5 days later, he started getting sick again, really sick. He couldn't even lift his head up off the pillow. And so I told her, I said, you've got to take him to the doctor or something. He is just not in good shape. He looked horrible. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he reinfected himself with just the environment not being cleaned. I don't know. Who knows? That was odd. But I've had people that I've tested them and they get through it in a matter of like 3 days. And it's like, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Any other sharings? Any other questions? Anything outside of COVID that maybe you feel like from the health department that she can graciously answer? Anything that you've experienced, anything your friends have experienced that you might have questions about that she might be able to help?
Tasheema,
The information on the monkeypox.
Okay, so the information on the monkeypox is, I believe it's a state of emergency right now. It has grown to that. I believe at first, at the beginning, it was more so they considered it a STD. And I think we're up to over 100 cases in Virginia now. I think it started with, of course, just one. So the same, it looks like it's like if you come within 15 feet of someone who has it, that you may be, that you may get it. I haven't seen it where it says like, how they did for COVID. If you're within 6 feet for longer than 15 seconds, then you possibly could get it. But they haven't given us the most information, just kind of like how to answer some of the key core questions. So like COVID, I think more and more will come out. I know I think Richmond and Henrico, you can get the vaccine for it. I'm not sure in Chesterfield just yet and who they're, encouraging to get it. Is it for everyone? I don't think it was advertised that way for everyone. So I think it just takes some more time for monkeypox to be out, for them to give us more guidance and give more guidance.
So educate me. If it is STD generated, then how can the holistic public get it? It's just is it airborne? Is it touching stuff? Have they gotten that far as how the general public can get it?
So yes, it had come to being airborne. I think at the beginning it was more so skin to skin, or like, skin to skin. So I think now it's grown to the point that it's considered to be airborne. So that's why it kind of went from, I was going to say why it went to to be in a state of emergency, but maybe it's just a lower risk for the general public, because it probably is still a skin to skin contact transmission.
So, you made a statement for my education. How did it become a state emergency I always look at things like that from a quantitative point. And I guess in my mind, I wonder how 100 cases, how that became a state of emergency.
That's a really good question. I'm not sure from that perspective. I just, I look at the news like everyone else. So I haven't, I think the information we received directly from the health department just was answering a couple of questions. It wasn't.
Oh, that's okay. I just thought you might have a little bit more information, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, we don't always have much more. It can't, even with COVID, we would learn information when everyone else learns it. So,
yeah.
Now, I do have a question. I'm confused about something that you said.
Okay.
You said that monkeypox was caused by skin-to-skin contact. Then you said it was caused by air.
Yes.
Within 15 feet of someone, then you said it's skin-to-skin contact. So how does one get monkeypox?
So that's what I was trying to explain. I think it's a lower risk for through air, but it's like a higher risk in skin to skin. What I've read is that it was going more so away from it being as considered to be like an STD. So
the virus is evolving to be more than personal contact.
I don't think I can answer that, or I want to say yes or no to that, because that just maybe I don't know, or I haven't gotten the most information.
Thank you.
Tasheema, going back to COVID, do you know what the percentage of the population in our area has been vaccinated?
I don't know the exact percentage, but Chesterfield is one of the highest districts that have been vaccinated along. Like I think we're right under Richmond, Henrico. So I don't know the exact amount or the exact percentage, but it was. I don't want to throw out anything, so yeah, I don't know the exact percentage.
It's okay. Any other questions or dialogue, guys? I love the energy. I love the sharing. That's what's hugely important. Tasheema, thank you so much. We really do appreciate I almost lost my computer. I really appreciate your sharing and your time. That's hugely of value to us, and we do appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was trying to look up the percentage because, like, I used, of course, the Virginia Department of Health website as our main, like, our resource. So that I really wanted to answer the question about the percentage. But thank you guys for having me. And thank you again. I'm a community health worker, so if you're in need of any resources, so even if you were on quarantine or on isolation and you needed food or you needed, assistance in any other categories, please reach out. You can reach out to your local health department, and they have resources that we can link you to. So just keep that in mind.
You
Thank
want to
you.
put your telephone number in the chat?
I would love to put my telephone
There
number.
you
in the
go.
chat. I'm gonna email too. And we have a team. I think we have about 5, 6, including me, community health workers. We speak. Well, I don't speak. Some speak Spanish, so we're we're here, and we're really trying to do great work as far as just really helping the community.
Thank you for that. With that being said, I'm going to go on to any type of business things that we need to share.